Okay, this is exciting. My friend here is gonna interview me. Now, all you kids out there will get to see what it's like to have an interview with a self published author. All right, question number one. I don't know the questions, by the way.
Okay.
This has me super nervous because I don't know the questions and I have to come up with like a cool answer that a writer would say.
I don't know what the questions are either.
Yeah, you wrote these like a year ago.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got.
Number one, where did you get the original inspiration to write The Great Depression?
Oh, that one's easy. I was kind of like living through it. Yeah, I was living through like 80% of that. And then the other 20% I filled in with my weirdo friends. So basically, like my life and then the life of my weirdo friends. And then like 5% is just pure imagination. So the inspiration was just my shitty life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like taking notes from everyday life, is that fair to say?
Yeah, like they say, talk about what you know. I was just writing about what I knew.
Okay.
I didn't have to take notes. I was like bipolar in a manic state, and I wrote it in 2 weeks. You know,
Okay.
because I just kind of wrote about like all the worst things or best thing, all the things that happened in life that were noteworthy up to that point, and like just kind of vomited them all out on the paper, and then filled in the blanks with weirdo friends and imagination.
Okay. Question two, how has Nola B changed over time as a character?
I think it's obvious he's gotten smarter. He's like running a physics channel now. Well, I am. I don't know. Who am I him? I don't even know. But the character was like a dope and it was a character study. And then I wanted to start using commas and make him a little more sophisticated so he was like more palatable to read. So I kind of had him always curious about college, you know? So I could get him to go to college and get smarter. I didn't want like continuity gaps where suddenly he was just smart. So I started to plant like the seeds he might go to college, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Learn how to use commas.
Yeah, there's a quote in the new book where he went to college and he learned how to use a comma because I wanted to like clean it up a little.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my IQ is probably like 80, but it's not 40 like his.
What is Nola's biggest fear?
Probably the fear of death. I think that's obvious, but I think he's also afraid of like being unloved and alone and neglected. So glad he asked.
This is very fun conversation. How did you get your idea for your second book?
Oh, um, so I like would write ideas on my Twitter account, like write them. Any idea that came to mind, I would write on my Facebook account, not Twitter. Now I have Twitter, but I have Facebook, and I'd write like any idea that came into my head down, and then I was like, oh, one day I'll turn all these ideas like. I'll have all the ideas and I'll incorporate them into some big book. And then I was going through them and I was like, this is the book. There's like, it's like a diary. When you're writing every thought that comes to mind over time, you're basically writing a diary. So I realized, like, I have another diary book here. And then the book I was writing, I actually incorporated into that. The Great Divide was a book I was writing. And I incorporated several chapters of that into this book. So that's what happened.
And And how did you come to that idea where you were going to combine the book you were writing with the content from Facebook? Like, how did that come to be?
Because I thought those chapters were good, and I wanted to use them, and I didn't know if I'd ever write another book, so I decided to use them. You know, I might like die tomorrow. I might not have time to write another book. So, since I like those chapters, I wanted them in there. You know, so it was really just like the pressure of time and not knowing if I was ever going to write another book. Might as well take what I have and just stuff it into that one. You know, you might as well stuff like all you writers out there. Listen to it, bro. Just kidding. You might as well stuff everything you have into whatever book you're writing, because like if something happens to you, you want all your ideas out there in the world. They might suck and they might never find an audience, but I think you want to leave some legacy. And what better legacy than like a unique outlook on life? You know, someone's going to read that and relate to it. It might be one person, but someone's going to read it and relate to it. And what if you didn't stuff it in there? You know? So then you didn't give that gift to society. That's kind of how I view it. So.
How long did it take, or does it usually take, to complete a full novel? And were there any challenges in the writing process?
Oh, so I only write when I'm manic. So it usually takes 2 weeks. Yeah. The first book took exactly 2 weeks. And then the second book took a little longer because I wanted to move around some of the stuff so there was a more natural. It's like I had like a word vomit of Facebook things that I made, and they didn't all like necessarily make sense in a linear fashion. So I kind of moved them around so it like formulated more of a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I took the tweets or the posts and moved them around, so it was like an arc.
Okay, that's kind of what I was wondering about your second book. Like, how did you manage to create it in such a really like linear way? Because a lot
Yeah,
of
the
people,
original posts aren't in that order.
yeah,
You know, I moved them, and that took some time.
yeah,
So I'd say that one took a month, maybe a month and a half, even in a manic state, because I reworded some of them so they were nicer to read or a little punchier. And then I rearranged the order of them so they made like more of a sense. They made more sense in like a story's arc instead of just random thoughts. There's still random thoughts, but I tried to put them in a way of like you could sort of feel his underlying, like he's starting out as a dope, and then like he gets a little bit progressively darker and mentally ill as the book goes along. And that's nothing like said. He's never saying I'm getting more mentally ill. It's really the order of the post, and um, they're creating like an order that is like showing his decline. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's happening there. So that took a long time. Yeah, it took a long time. I would smoke pot and then go through all the posts like for hours.
and then of course all the time, because you were writing this post in real time over a course of
Yeah,
how
all
many
that,
years? I
all
mean,
that over years. Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess it took like a month to 6 weeks to like put it in book form, but it took years to write all those ideas down, and then weeks to organize them in a way that kind of made a story.
That makes sense. The writing and the formatting in your second book is completely different from your first. Why do you think that is? Like, why did you make that choice to do that format?
Oh yeah. I thought it was interesting to put the timelines because Different things have different impacts depending what time of day you say them. If you say I'm so alone and it's 9 in the morning, that's different than saying I feel so alone and it's 1 o'clock in the morning. So I thought the timelines were actually like, I don't know. I found them to be kind of powerful.
You
They,
mean the timestamp?
yeah, the timestamps.
Yeah.
So I found them to be kind of powerful. And I also thought like having them would show him traveling to the Pacific Northwest and all that. Because he goes from like East Coast to West Coast time zone. So I thought showing like, I thought it was a good way to show that he was not like in his own head and like lying about things. Like his timestamp was showing that he was actually traveling around. So I kind of liked having them. And what was the other part? The writing style.
Yeah,
I think I just made him a little smarter, you know? Is that what you mean? Like that kind of thing? Or
I mean more like the using social media posts instead of a normal like a
Oh,
usual
yeah.
book format.
I just thought that was interesting. When I Googled it, I didn't see any books that were written in that format. So I just thought maybe writing one in that format would get my book notoriety. And I kind of had it in that format because that's where I was writing my ideas, so it was kind of easy. So I just thought it was unique enough to do it. And, you know, I don't know if that's true. It might irritate people.
No, I like it because it becomes more like a graphic style,
Yeah.
like a graphic novel.
I thought it was like, yeah, and I thought it was like modern. I kind of liked, I don't like old writing where the people are like, you know,
Yeah.
and thou walked down the street and saw thee, and I don't like that.
Well, you're going really far back in time.
But even like that guy that Hemingway always made fun of, that writer, Faulkner, even like all that stuff where it's like page after page of descriptors. I walked into the room and the fireplace had bricks. They were red bricks. The red bricks had smudges on them. The smudges were brown and black. Okay. Like, tell me what happened. Did someone go and have sex on the bricks? Like, where's the action? What's going on? What happened? Where's the profound thought I can relate to? You know? I don't care how much you can describe some nonsensical item in a room. You might be able to do that beautifully, but that's really not the kind of writing I like, you know? So that's why, I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Am I even answering the question?
Yeah, you are. You're talking about the formatting of the book.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like it's a really interesting format for a book because, you know, everybody does have kind of a timeline in terms of their posts that they write on social media.
Yeah.
And they do have a bit of a story arc. Like I've followed arcs with my own personal, you know, friends on the accounts I follow, right? Like they have their own.
Yeah, every day we see what our friends are doing.
Yeah.
There's like a timeline every day.
Yeah, so in a way it's like a really it's a really digestible and realistic format, and really like it is a page turner because the way you do it is so it has such a natural arc because it is happening in real time. And so the way you structure it is nice.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know if it made sense before, but there's power in the timestamp. If you say something at one time of day, it has a different power and weight than if you say it at another time of day. So I liked them a lot for that reason too.
Yeah, I especially liked in the second book how you could pay attention to like, oh, he posted a lot in this month, and he posted a lot in one night.
Right. Right, that has power. Oh, he posted 5 times tonight. Something must be really wrong. It says a lot about the situation. And then
Yeah.
if they're all coming at like 1 in the morning, you know that's a person who's like desperate and lonely.
Yeah, or there's something happening and he doesn't post, like he posts one
Yeah,
time
that
in a
too.
month,
Mm-hmm.
where like you're kind of wondering what's happening. Like I like those moments towards the end of the book where like
Yeah,
his friends are kind of getting more increasingly concerned
right.
about him.
Right. They're like posting less, they're checking in less.
Hmm.
He's posting less and saying when he does post, he's like talking about darker and darker things. A lot of that stuff was rearranged, like I said, to make that arc a little more like interesting.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so that yeah. Yeah.
So it isn't, you're using a format, but in terms of it being completely realistic down to the timestamp, you would say you took some artistic,
Yeah.
freedom
Yeah.
there in terms of making it.
Yeah,
a
because
story.
when I was making it, I didn't know I was writing a book. I was just writing down ideas.
Mhm.
So to make it a book, you want to make it have like an arc and be as interesting as possible. And maybe the order they were in, where they just came into my mind, maybe that order was not the most ideal order for some outside reader. So I tried to think like, if I was reading this, what would I want to see? Well, I wouldn't want to see like, I'm going to get some pizza. And
No, I'm bored.
yeah, well, I wouldn't want to see like, I wouldn't want to hear like, I'm going to get some pizza, and then like the next post is I'm bulimic.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
like you want an arc. How did you get to that stage?
Yeah.
So it's like, how did he get to be so dark at the end of the book? Well, the posts are ordered in a way that tries to explain that.
Mhm.
So
And I think that's good for the reader to know that, it's not just you downloaded an entire Facebook history and just, vomited it into
Yeah.
a book format. There was
no, it was a lot of work.
there was a lot more thought process and writing that went into it. But
Yeah, and there was a ton of like editing and phrase, like they weren't all worded very well.
yeah.
So
Okay, so it wasn't all just downloaded into an XML and just put it into, Scrivener or whatever.
no, I wish it was because that would have been really quick. Instead
Yeah.
of spending 6 weeks, it would have been a day. But no, it took like 6 weeks to reorder everything. So
Gotcha. Okay, my next question is now into present times. Nola has sort of joined the digital age as a content creator on YouTube. How did that come to be, and how has it progressed so far?
oh man, I think how did it come to be? Was it maybe smoking pot? Smoking pot and making YouTube videos. And then I think it just went to Twitter, to try to promote my book. I tried to join like the writing community there.
Mm-hmm.
And they somehow just absolutely hate me. Like no one will ever pay attention to me. No one will add me. They like absolutely loathe me. I have no idea why. I don't know. Maybe my books are offensive,
I think it's really difficult to get a following on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know how people do it. I joined Twitter to try to do that and like meet like-minded people, writers, but everyone is doing the same thing. They're just on there to try to promote their book.
Right.
So all that happens is like followers, the number of followers like funnels up to the person who has like the most popular book. And then the people with the least popular book get like 0 followers. So that's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of pointless for promoting. I met a couple nice people on there, so that's good. But I got like 60 subs. No one cares,
Twitter
So-
seems to be a very political platform.
Yeah.
and like news oriented platforms. So maybe
Yeah, I don't know how to find like the right people in community. I thought I'd find other weirdos on there. There's like no weirdos on there. I can't find any of the weird people. Like growing up in the 90s, 2000s, and even like, yeah, early like '05 era, like there were weirdos everywhere on the internet. Now everyone on the internet that I come across is like super normal. They're not people who would really like my book. Like, where did all the weirdos go? So I've been having a really hard time like finding an audience, you know? I just can't find the weirdos. It's like they all went and got therapy.
it's possible, or they all became a lot more visible online. Like maybe the nature of the internet has sort of progressed into this like highly visible thing with people's identities.
Yeah.
And it's become less about like, you know, like being weird on the internet, and then it's more like your professional outward appearance.
Yeah, it's all that. Everyone looks so well adjusted. Like, what happened to the girl with pink hair who wore a sundress? That was all over the place. And she liked like Catcher in the Rye or something. Those people don't exist.
Yeah.
They're gone. They like vanished from the planet. They went and got therapy. Then they went online and got the attention they needed to be healthy people. And then they vanished because of that. like they got like all this stuff they needed like fulfilled, and then their Catcher in the Rye, their Holden Caulfield, totally disappeared. And now there's like no weirdos left.
Maybe you need to get on TikTok.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. Is that all the questions?
No, there's more.
Oh, okay.
We got off track a little bit. Do you have any plans or goals for your YouTube channel?
So, if anyone wants to follow my channel, it's Anxious Robot Physics channel, but I post music, and this is going to go up there, book stuff. My goal is to have a hodgepodge of my crazy ideas. And then for that hodgepodge to find an audience. But like I said, there's no weirdos left in the world. So I just don't see an audience. But, you know, the internet's weird. And who knows, this can go viral. You don't know which thing is going to go viral. And you just never know. I just want to put out the ideas that come to mind that I think are good, and then have it be my legacy. That's really the ultimate goal. It's not really I don't think about self-promoting it or like money. I just want to get all the ideas out there. So really it's like a big idea dump. Just taking a massive dump with my brain onto YouTube.
Big massive dumps?
Yeah, and then I'm leaving it there like a dog on someone's lawn. I'm just leaving my dump on YouTube. It's like my big lawn, and I'm just like a dog walking down the neighborhood every night, just taking a dump on it. And then I just walk away, and it stays there forever until it like disintegrates.
People love a good obscure good YouTube channel.
I wish it was like the 90s when people cared about good obscure bands. No one cares about anything. Everyone's well adjusted. It's weird.
They'll care about it eventually if the diamond in the rough will.
If I take enough dumps on my neighbor's lawn as a dog, maybe someone will bump it. Maybe someone will step in it, you know? Someone will step in one of those piles.
Is a third book in the cards?
Yeah. So originally I was going to make the arc that he like totally flips his wig and becomes like a serial killer or something. That seemed like a natural progression for this character. But then I thought it'd be funnier and equally interesting that he just becomes like a giant pothead and like a pacifist. Like it's kind of unexpected that he goes that direction. So I was thinking about,
panpsychism.
yeah, he's like, yeah. So like so pot like prevents him from becoming the serial killer. I feel like there's a story right there, like how you could write about some of the terrible thoughts or whatever, and then you could write about um, like the revelations on pot, like you know what I'm saying, like you could write about revelations and stuff, and that could be really interesting. I also thought like I want to continue with the arc of losing friends and maybe like domesticated life with a wife and his thoughts on that kind of stuff. Like so so it'll be about like a more mature version of him that is dealing with like middle-aged man problems instead of the 20s and 30s, which is where the other books take place. It's more where you're trying to figure out your place in the world. And I want this book to be more, he figured out his place in the world. He didn't like it. It almost made him snap. He found pot and like some stability. And then like, how does he feel about that stability? How does he feel about like, you know, he's in the middle of his life. He's got existential problems on the horizon. And that whole transition from like, he was headed down like, yeah, he was a dope and showed no signs of violence, but he was a little bit like incel-y, where he could snap. So he was kind of headed down that path a little. So he won't be down that path, and it'll be about all the stuff I'm talking. And I want to make it in a way that's funny. You know, I want it to be like the other books in that regard, where there's like deep underlying thoughts, but you're not trying to be like Sartre, you know, or whoever that guy is, a philosopher. It's like super deep. Like, I want to talk about that stuff and I want it to be as powerful as that guy Sartre, but I don't want it to be as heavy. So I feel like to do that, there has to be humor in it. So I'm going to try to keep that. Yeah, that's important. I love books that make me smile, like that Working Stiffs Manifesto. That book was hilarious. Remember that? Yeah, I love books like that where it's a guy's day-to-day life and you're pointing out all the absurd things just in like a single day. And, you know, things people maybe don't even see that you see, and things they see and they don't realize how funny they are. So I like that stuff. It'll have that.
Do you think it'll still be a written book, or do you think it'll be a different format?
I think it's going to be the final book in this trilogy, and it's going to be a complete book without any gimmicks. It's going to be a standard novel.
Okay.
You know,
Like a real full-fledged, full...
I shouldn't say gimmicks. I'm like bashing my own book. But you know what I'm saying. There's not going to be any like quirky formatting or like diary format, you know. If there's any kind of diary, it'll be like just, you know, probably a couple of his Twitter posts or something. Just some funny stuff like that maybe, but it's going to be pretty standard. I realize I have quite a bit left to say. And I want to say it all in this book and then be done. And then move on from writing. And I want this book to be more well written. I can write better than I do, and I want that to show in this book. Yeah.
Cool. That's all I have.
Yeah. Okay, cool, thanks.